I saw on your TikTok you said you did a MMA awards segment, so I wanted to create a full set of MMA awards. Best fighter of the year, most boring fighter, best striker, best wrestler, everything. 2022.
Let's do it. I think well, first things first, I'd like to do best knockout of the year. And in my opinion, it's got to be Leon Edwards. I think we should
Submission
go take
knockout.
turns. So who
Okay, for sure, for
you
sure, for sure.
yeah. Would you agree? Do you think Leon's got it? Or would you go with someone
Yeah, I
else?
would say Leon at the top of my head. Leon comes to mind. The Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, that comes to mind also. But I think what was at stake with the Leon knockout that he
Yeah.
was down, Usman was going to tie Anderson Silva's record of consecutive wins. Like Leon, like his 10 fight win streak was about to be over. So
Right.
I would agree with you on that. I think a close second would probably be the Chandler kick. I think, right. What were and then I would say third would probably be the Pereira Strickland knockout.
Honestly, that's up there for me, man. That's got to be up there because it was just such a good knockout, such a clean knockout.
That was clean, yeah. So, but I would agree with you on that. Best submission, um, because look, you can go with most creative submission. You can go submissions are different, a little weird. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Islam Makhachev against Charles Oliveira. Biggest
I
stage,
could see it, man.
biggest
You
stage.
know,
You submit the submission king.
yeah,
You become the champ. You end Charles's 11 fight win streak. Yeah, I would say Islam Makhachev. Yeah, and there was also no chance Charles was gonna get out of that. That was in tight. So yeah, I would say that a close second would probably be Charles against Gaethje. I would say.
yeah. I gotta say, like Charles's submission against Gagey
How
really
impressive because he,
just that
yeah,
really like that really proved like he was just the top guy at the lightweight division at the time, and it really proved that like that was the peak of his title reign. Like if you could come up
yeah.
with anyone's peak at the title reign, like as we said, Izzy's was Costa. For Charles, it was his submission over Gagey, just a classic fight, finished him in one round. But I'd have to go with. I know this is crazy, but the one that surprised me the most was Yuri's submission over Glover Teixeira.
Yeah,
That surprised me, like because he was losing that fight on the scorecards. It was such a good war. It was one of the best fights I've ever seen. There were so many back and forths where one guy was about to get finished, the other guy was about to get finished, and the last thing you would expect is Yuri Prohaska to submit Glover Teixeira, the guy who's like so good on the ground.
yeah.
That shocked me. It shocked me.
Yeah,
So I got to go with that one. But I think Charles is getting submitted by Islam is up there. I do those are the top three for me. But I
yeah.
think number one, I got to go with Yuri. So next one, what is your performance of the year?
Performance of the year. Um, I feel like you're probably thinking the same thing, same one I'm thinking. Volkanovski against Max Holloway, the 50-45, beat the best boxer in the UFC at his own game.
Yeah,
Um, Super impressive. He showed that he's levels above everybody in that division and that he's the pound for pound best. A close second would also be Islam Makhachev against Charles. Like
that was a great performance.
I'm
Yeah,
still just so shocked at how quick he finished Charles, and especially because of how quick Charles finishes all of his opponents. You know what I mean? I think that's
yeah,
the impressive thing about it is you finished a guy who finishes all of his opponents super quick. You finished a guy who finished Khabib's opponents quicker than Khabib, and you finish him quicker than Charles finishes most of his opponents. It's unreal. So I would say those two are my top two for sure. What about you?
I think that's definitely my top two. I'd go with number one would be Volkanovski's 50-45 over Max Holloway, which is just insane. Max is one of the featherweight goats, but honorable mention. Whitaker's performance over Vittori was pretty
Ooh,
fucking good
yeah,
too. And I
that was
would throw Cyril Gahn's performance in there with Tai Tuivasa, but he got dropped, so I can't.
no, that we could maybe that's a fight of the year. Maybe that will be in our
That's
for the fight of the year.
one. That's definitely up there, man.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
get to that in a second. But I like the Vittori Whitaker. That's a good one. I forgot about that. Yeah, I like that, but I'm gonna go with Islam and
Yeah.
Volk for sure for those ones. But speaking of the fight of the year, I think
Ooh, that's a good one.
yeah, who do you have being the fight of the year?
I understand like people going with Khamzat Burns, and I think if you're gonna go with a 3 rounder, like what other 3 rounder would be better than that? But I mean, we saw one of the best fights I've ever seen, and the best fight I've ever seen in a particular division, 205, Yuri Prohaska, Glover Teixeira. And it is because I watched it back. It was such a crazy fight. It's one of those fights where it's so crazy, you're done with it. Like, it's kind of hard to process what just happened.
Yeah,
So I have watched it back. And when I watched it back, I couldn't believe, like, it was literally like if you would imagine cage fighting, like just people going crazy in a cage fight, that's what it was. It was so violent that it almost didn't look real. Every single moment of that fight, like, is action packed. Like, even in the clinch, like Yuri Prohaska teeing off on Glover to the body, hurting him. Glover takes him down, elbows him in the face. Like, it was such a brutal fight. And it lasted that way 25 minutes through. And then the finish, it was just, I honestly think it's the best fight at light heavyweight I've ever seen by far. It's such a good fight. I think, like, if you want to watch a fight back that is amazing, watch that one back because it was amazing,
I would agree
crazy.
with you. I would agree with you. That's number one. Trying to think what was I the Burns Shemaev, that was a war. Um,
That was a war. That was a good fight.
O'Malley versus Jan.
John, that's a great fight too.
I think that has to be up there as now. I honestly would probably put that over Chimaya Burns. I
Really?
yeah, I probably would. Just
I mean,
rewatching it,
it was competitive, man.
it was more competitive in my opinion.
And there were a lot of interesting parts. There was some interesting grappling, but I think it's kind of interesting because every year we do have some crazy wars, but nothing like the thing about like O'Malley, Yan, like there are moments where there's grappling, there's not a lot of happening, or even Burns and Chimaev, like the first round was a little slow, but I think that fight's got to be better than O'Malley, Yan. I still think O'Malley, Yan's good, and that lived up. That's definitely one of the best fights.
Yeah.
But there haven't been that many 5 rounders that were just crazy this year.
Yeah, that was, oh, two. I mean, Tuivasa versus
Tuivasa, yeah. But
versus.
nothing's really went 5 rounds that we've been like, holy shit,
Yeah, there wasn't really like a 5 round war like that like this year. I don't think, right? I mean, what like
Yeah. Calvin Cater versus Giga Chikadze, but that was kind of one-sided, and that wasn't
yeah,
like nearly on the same
yeah.
level.
There
Jamal Hill versus Thiago Santos was pretty good,
that
underrated,
was a
but
good fight too. But
that was a good
that
fight.
didn't go
Yeah.
5 rounds though.
There
Yeah, but
haven't been that many crazy ones this year.
that went 5 rounds. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Glover versus Yuri was about to go 5 rounds, as we know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no. What about fighter of the year?
This is a good one. Man, it's I mean, it's a tough one, man. We're looking at only 2022. So that means,
Yeah,
I definitely, oh man, that's tough. It's tough. I mean, I'm trying to think.
I'm gonna say
Volkanovski's
Volkanovski. I think it's Volkanovski.
defended his belt twice, beat Max Holloway.
50,
Um,
45.
did he fight? Oh no, he fought, yeah,
Yeah.
50-45. I mean, like, Charles is a good win, but Islam Makhachev has a win over Bobby Green and then Charles, which is good. But can you give someone the fighter of the year if they've only had that one big win? I don't know. You
I
can't
think
give
that's
it to Aljo because, like, I
Aljo.
don't know, his fights were kind of
Ooh,
weird,
Aljo. Ooh, I don't mind. I don't mind that.
but
I
his fights were weird though. Like, you know what I mean?
I think Volkanovski. I think it's got to be Volk. It's got to be Volk.
Who else would you get? Like, can you give it to
There's
Usman?
not
No.
that you can't give it to many
Yeah, I
guys because
lost.
yeah,
Maybe Leon though. Nah.
no, because he lost. He was losing that whole fight.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
think
mean?
I think Volk, man, like,
Volk. Yeah, it's got to
and
be.
then
You know?
maybe Islam for getting that big title. I mean, but then I don't know. I got to be Volk, two-time defending champion.
Yeah, Volk. Most
What about
boring
what about comeback of the year?
comeback of the year. So comeback of the year. Like, what are we talking? Like a fighter who turned his
Redeemed
career
himself.
around, Or are we talking
We
about
could do that, and we could do a in a fight. I think in a fight would be Leon,
oh
obviously, but
for
like
sure. And
there's
then
some other
go
good ones.
and then Yuri also. Yuri
Yeah,
and Leon, I would say for sure. But comeback fighter of the year who turned his career around, I'm gonna say is Aljo. Because Aljo
yeah, definitely. I mean, he beat Peter
before
Yan.
yeah, before that Peter Yan, when after that knee, rough 12 months, he was dealing with neck stuff. He was dealing with tons of hate on the internet. He could have folded, he could have you know what I mean? Like he could have really affected his career, but it made him trade harder than ever. He beat Peter Yan fair and square, and he just smoked TJ Dillashaw, and now people are talking about him as one of the greatest light bantamweights of all time. So I would say Aljo for sure. Um, come another I yeah just Aljo, I guess that's the guy who comes to mind. I would say. Um, anybody else for you?
I think Aljamain is really that guy for sure. I think he's the guy that I can think of now that he did beat Piotr Jan, and then I think it's got to be him for sure. As far as a fight goes, honorable mention Matt Schnell versus
Oh, yeah.
Sue Maidari or something like that. I forget his name, but that was a crazy fight. He got dropped a bunch of times and then came back to finish him. Crazy fight, but I got to go with Leon Edwards for sure.
What about most
Yeah.
boring fighter of 2022? Adesanya.
It's got to be Izzy, man. It's got to be Izzy because like Izzy's done it on a big scale. I mean, sure, his fight with Robert Whitaker wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the best fight ever. And then his fight with Jared Kennedy put me to sleep. And if we're looking at a high profile fighter, he's got to be up there for sure.
Yeah, I would
Sean
agree.
Brady's had an entertaining fight this year.
Yeah. What about most overrated fighter?
Oh man, that's a good one.
I'm gonna say Colby Covington. I'm gonna say Colby.
But he hasn't really lost this year, done anything
Or
I think he beat up Jorge pretty good.
what about Sean Brady? He just lost.
So you're overrated is like them being exposed in a way, a little
It could
bit.
go it could go both ways. It can be the expose or it can be like a guy who like people are too hyped up over after a win. So I
Man, I think yeah, what do you think?
in terms of exposed, I think it's Sean Brady, but I think in terms of like getting too hyped over a win, like I mean, I don't know, like who really comes to mind? I mean, I feel like it has to be Colby. Got to be Colby.
Yeah.
Still ranked number two into the
I don't know though, because like I don't really know if any yeah, I think Colby's people are
but,
overrating him.
but nobody really went too crazy when he beat Masvidal, right? Like nobody was super impressed,
Yeah.
I think, right?
No.
I don't know. I mean,
I knew he was gonna beat
yeah,
Masvidal.
I
I
think
mean,
we
that
all,
wasn't impressive.
yeah. I mean, we could also say a guy like Yair Rodriguez or Josh Emmett, like one of those guys, um, as overrated. Yeah, I would probably say one like
You
I
really want to look at it, maybe Max Holloway.
because you got to
I
explain.
mean, like no one
He's just
there were
on.
lots, yeah, I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean he's in my opinion, he's not that overrated, but I mean going into that fight,
I don't-
people had him beating Volk.
yeah. A bunch of people really thought he was gonna win after that second,
Yeah.
fight. But I'm gonna probably say I'm gonna
I
say
think Costa, bro. I really think
oh
Costa's over.
Costa. That's a great one. Costa, they're overrating that whole Rockhold fight. Like he didn't look good, guys. He beat a washed
Yeah.
37-year-old Rockhold. Like that's not impressive at all. And he struggled to
Yeah.
do. What about most entertaining fighter of the year?
Oh man, that's a good one. I guess I mean you could look at Charles being up there. He's had entertaining fights. Even his fight with Islam was entertaining.
Hmm.
Um, you got Yuri Prohaska. I'm trying to think about guys that have fought a lot this year, but who has fought that much? I think, you know, has anyone really fought that much this year?
Tuivasa?
Tuivasa, yeah, he beat Derek Lewis. Yeah, maybe give Ty Tuivasa that because he
Tuivasa
beat
for
Derek
sure.
Lewis in the entertaining fight, and then he gave us a fight with Cyril Gahn. I think you got to give it to Ty.
Um, most impressive fighter of the year.
Ah man, I think again, it's for me, it's got to be Islam or Volk.
Yeah, or Chimaev.
For what Islam I think Chimaev is still the most impressive fighter of the year. I mean, it's one of those guys for sure. I mean, those guys impressed me. Khamzat's win over Holland really impressed me. Um,
And it went over Burns too.
Win over Burns impressed me as well. Um, yeah. I think also, what about the like never back down award? I mean, there are some guys that we expected to get destroyed that didn't. I think Burns. I expected him to get destroyed in that fight.
Oh, so
He
much heart.
yeah,
So much heart. He
yeah,
showed
for
so
sure.
much heart. Yeah. No, for sure.
I picked Khamzat to finish him in one.
Yeah, so did I. So did I.
Yeah,
But yeah, also most underrated fighter of 2022.
underrated. Damn, that's a tough one. Who would you have?
I'm still gonna say Aljo.
Oh yeah, no, I think Aljamain. Yeah, I think now
Still
that he's on the big, he's got the biggest profile. I think Aljo. Um, I still think Cyril gone in a way. Like I know you've said that he has a lot of things he needs to work on, but I still think he beat Francis, and he just beat up Tai Tuivasa. Like I still think Cyril gone is like the best heavyweight in the world right now.
yeah.
Um, so I'd put him up there just because I feel like people don't rate him highly enough. Uh,
The
and
worst fight.
Ma-
Wait, sorry.
what's
Continue.
up?
Continue.
Magomed Ankalaev's got to be in there too.
As what underrated?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like he's like gonna be the champion, bro.
Yeah, he's for sure gonna be the champion. Let's see. Most boring fight of the year.
Most
Esparza.
boring. Oh, Carlos Esparza and Rose Namajunas.
Yeah, and then Izzy versus Cannonier.
Jared Cannonier. That was my top two.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I
Izzy versus Cannonier was unbearable.
yeah.
It literally was unbearable because I fell asleep. My body could not. I mean, I literally could not force myself to stay awake to that.
What about I don't know if we did this, but biggest riser of the year? It's like his stock rose the most.
Man, that's a good one.
I think Islam.
Oh yeah, it's got to be Islam
Islam or
Makhachev
Chimaev. I'd say
or
Islam.
Chimaev. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chimaev or Islam, man. I guess Chimaev because he fought Burns and then came
Yeah.
back UFC 279